there's a Siphon Soul, you have a follow-up. Just keep making Draconic Studies, make some dragons, and hit them really hard, really quickly. And then they won't have the time to play their Ticketus because they've got to kill all your minions. These aren't minions in Luna's opening hand, though. These are spells, Teach.
Well, Luna does have less minions than some of the priests, at least in the early game that we've seen. She does not run Sethic Veilweaver, which is a very interesting choice, considering it's one of the highest value cards in priests, even if you're just only using a couple of targeted spells with it, because you can get it back from Raised Dead. But what this does is it allows her to get more value from the cards that she can choose. What kind of value that she gets, or gets more value from it individually. It seems like her deck consistently hits Venomous Scorpids and Onyx Mage Grabs from Raised Dead because her pool is narrower, which is definitely something to be aware of.
Mindrender in the opening hand now is also something to be aware of. And unfortunately, it's not as simple as just stealing your opponent's Ticketus, because the Warlock still can just Jiraxis you to death, but it's a big deal if you can get there. In general, the problem is that the Warlock is a turn ahead. Mindrender stealing a Ticketus costs 9, and the Warlock can do what it wants with 8, basically, is the very short version of that.
Yeah, and also once it's corrupted, it doesn't matter if you steal it, because you're swapping decks, so you're playing a corrupted version of Ticketus, which is still destroying cards from your own deck. So, the only way to really get value from Mindrender is a very small window right on turn 9, before, if the Warlock is not able to corrupt it with any cards whatsoever. And Rami's going to be aware of this. He's been playing very controlled and thoughtfully with this deck, making sure that, knowing he's in a good matchup, to not give his opponents any way to try and swing the game. He was buttoning everything up in the match versus Muzzy yesterday. There was only a single decision to draw cards with Lady Vosh that I questioned with Rami's play yesterday, but even going so far as to twisting Nether's own board away, knowing he had guaranteed lethal in 2 turns to prevent Blademaster Samuro from being able to trade in his board with a potentially randomly generated Apotheosis. That's how far he went. So I don't think he's going to really allow Mindrender Lucia to be super impactful in this game. But meanwhile, Ogremancer hits the board. Kind of difficult to deal with for Luna, but she's not under any pressure. Does have a Soul Mirror available down the line. She can always find some value, or even just focus Will It right now. I don't think there's really any need to be too overreacting in this situation.
It does a lot of things, though. The first thing it does, by the way, is gets rid of Rami's coin, which means that Mindrender Elucia becomes worse. Quite useful to get rid of that coin sometimes if you're going second as the Warlock, just to stop potential weirdness. But also it slows Luna down. Even though this won't kill her, it stops her 2/2s from hitting Rami, which buys him time. She does kind of have to deal with it, even if it only takes her a turn or 2. Buys him time. It's just designed to slow her down. It's not designed to kill her with a load of 2/2s. Like I said at the start, Luna would like to Draconic Studies 2 or 3 times here and maybe get a cheap Ysera or a cheap Proto-Drake, something like that. But she can't now. She's got to take care of this annoying minion on the board that is just slowing her down, and all the time that means that Rami is drawing more and more cards, getting closer to the Ticketus and the Jiraxis of which you spake in the intro.
Well, speaking of Draconic Studies, there's one picked up, but again, does need to make sure that she has some wiggle room on the board with this Ogremancer. Taking too much damage and being under threat of too much tempo is exactly the situation that you want to avoid, because a lot of times you won't die. There's not really that much pressure until later on in the game. But it does give the Warlock much safer ability to play Jiraxis and to kind of life tap aggressively, or just formulate their own game plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, what Luna wants to be doing now is hitting the Warlock in the face, even if it's only for 2 or 3 a turn. And she can't do that. She's got to mess around with this stupid ogre that is just going to remove her minions. And, her being hit with the minions isn't a problem. It's the fact that she's going to get traded into. All these minions on the board for Rami are just more removal. And the priest usually, because there are exceptions, I think we saw one yesterday, can't win the long game here, at least in game number 1, with no Cthulhu and no real hammer blow.
Well, Muzzy did. The only game he won yesterday in the matchup was the primary, which is not usually how it works, right? But I think he played exceptionally well. There was one little spot at the end where he missed a guaranteed lethal by playing a mind-rendered armor bender. But that he pointed out to me. I didn't even see it. He pointed out to me after the match, and he's like, yeah, I shouldn't have played that. I had guaranteed lethal if I didn't.
Right.
But I also think that was because Rami aggressively drew cards at one stage in the game, and that put him close enough into fatigue to where Muzzy was in a position where he could win. Now, though, this is, again, getting awkward. There's a lot of pressure on board. But, again, not really close to dying. There's no damage from hand, or however you want to put it, from Rami. He can burst for 3 for 9 mana with Jiraxis.
Yeah.
Does have Hellfire, though. Was able to pick up a Hellfire.
Also showed last turn how much he is actually paying attention and really into this. He thought for a considerable amount of time whether to attack or not, or whether to leave Luna on a higher health total so she had less ways of healing into Xyrella. So he was evaluating, what do I think of my board? Do I really care if she blows it up? Because it's only a low risk anyway. She might not even have the Xyrella. But it's just nice to show that he is paying attention to those little details.
I wonder.
Rami has actually kind of missed on everything here. I know when I play against Warlocks ladder, this isn't how it goes, TJ.
Well, I mean, he's still on 7 mana, so he's not at the point yet where like he really needs to hit those big things. He's still got a couple turns left. Basically, he wants Jiraxis as early as possible, and but Ticketus, no matter when it comes down, as long as you're holding on to a card that can corrupt it, that's fine. It's Jiraxis that you want early, because the earlier you can start making a 6/6 every turn, the harder it's going to be for Priest to manage that pressure.
Oh, this isn't fun for Luna, is it, at all? I mean, it's not fun going into this matchup unless you accept that you're probably going to lose and treat it as a free roll, I guess. But having to deal with this, I want to call it an onslaught, but it's more of a, I don't know, it's a little bit pathetic attack that she has got to pay attention to. It's just not what she wants to be doing. She wants to be getting on with her game plan, not worrying about Rami's game plan.
Yeah.
And that deals with it pretty tidily. Apotheosis, very limited use here. And Luna's basically here just saying, show me the Siphon Soul. There's only one in your deck. I want to see your Siphon Soul. Otherwise, I'm actually going to be irritating too. Don't take Rustwicks. No! Why? That's how you lose. So, the way you can lose this really favoured matchup as a Warlock is by getting your Rustwicks soul mirrored.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely sure of it.
Yeah, but Rami showed yesterday, I mean, Rustwicks was what won him the game in one of the games, right? Or at least made it close. He killed it off as soon as he played it.
Right. Okay, that's good, yeah.
And then he even got a can with that Prime, which re-summoned Envoy Rustwicks, and he also made sure that he could kill off that one immediately when he played it. So he never let it get soul mirrored, and I think it's going to be the same case. Obviously, it's the best demon as long as you can kill it yourself in the matchup, because it extends fatigue, gives you high-powered minions. So I really like it.
Yeah, I stand corrected. Okay, what I should have said is don't play Rustwicks unless you can kill
don't play Rustwicks that turn. Don't play it unless you can kill it off yourself so that it doesn't get soul mirrored.
Because
it's a big question. Or initiation or stolen in any regard, right? Cabal, Acolyte, Way of the Apathy, just kill it off when as soon as you play it. And it doesn't matter if it's dead in hand for a long time. It doesn't matter if it's like, okay, this is dead in hand until I have 6 cards left remaining in my deck. As long as you're killing it the turn you play it, it's still going to shuffle the primes in your deck and still going to get value.
Oh, Luna deciding that one way to make a board now is this soul mirror because everything lives. Obviously, the downside is that everything of Rami's lives, so she's had to wait to do this until she can at least kill off some of the opposing stuff. Going Plague, not really good enough. She's lucky she'll get rid of 2. She is. Oh, she got 8. Yeah, okay. This is not so bad. In fact, if anything, she got unlucky there. Yeah, Rami's amused. She's going through all this effort this turn to establish a board, and Hellfire just kills it all.
Yeah, but she's also just acquiring resources, right? Like, every single turn, she spends a resource, but then gets back another resource. So, like, all of these spells that she's getting rid of are things that produce other things, right? Soul Mirror gave her a board. Every time she gets these minions back from Raised Dead, they're also generating more spells. She's already chained 2 Raised Deads together, getting Draconic Studies back, right? So she's just been at 9 cards every turn. So she's expending these resources, she's building this board. But again, this isn't necessarily what it's about. It's not about sticking a board in this mid game because both players are just going to remove it. As soon as one player gets really far ahead, then boom, the explode button for both players will come out, twisting there for Rami, Soul Mirror for Luna, and then they start from scratch. It's about using the minimal amount of resources to force resources out of your opponent and trying to play that resource battle because whoever at the very end of the game, when they're in fatigue, has more resources left and more gas left, that's where it's going to matter.
And that's why you highlighted Jiraxxus as the main card, because Jiraxxus is a little bit slow, but is infinite resources.
Yes.
Just press the button. Here's a 6/6. And 6/6s are just the right shape to really irritate Priest. If they were all 5/5s, things would be so much easier to deal with, just the way things work out. But 6/6s are irritating. There's a lot of 4 attacks and 5 attacks you end up with Priest, it turns out.
Yep.
5 heals into Xyrellas and that sort of thing. 6/6s are just awkward. And don't get me wrong, you can kill a lot of 6/6s as the Priest, but you generally can't kill them all. At some point, you have to have a massive swing turn, and then if you're not careful, you get Twisting Nethered, so you have to have a medium swing turn and try and tickle the Twisting Nether to be played, and then you can have another swing turn afterwards. And the Priest does have to set it up, and that's what Luna is doing by picking all these high-value minions.
Ooh. You don't pick the ones.
Yeah, the Runaway Blackwing is actually quite sick. It uses a resource, it's 1-for-1s, but stays on the board, so that is quite good, I would say.
Yep, and it has to be dealt with a proper spell, a Nether or a Siphon. Because she's not going to let it get Hysteria.
Well, he's going to Hysteria here, and then just going to finish off with a Drain Soul. Now, it's only 3 primes, and as we've seen, there are some primes that don't do that much, right? That can be a liability. Vash Prime can be a huge liability because a lot of times you don't want to draw spells. Solarian Prime could also actually be a liability because there's a lot of draw spells, right? There's Cram Session, there's Refreshing Springwater, there's Arcane Intellect, there's like Rigged Fair Game that you can get as a secret. Reese is not wanting to damage you in those cases, so that can go quite wrong. It's the ones that are the board generating effects, right? Mishfin Prime, McGurgle Prime, that are the super high value ones. Even Canrathad, because you're already playing demons in the deck, and you can get another Rustwix back, and then kill it off immediately, and do the exact same thing that we just saw Rami do. So,
I noticed a theme with those card draw spells that you mentioned as well. They all seem to be from the same class.
Well, yeah, because it's Solarian Prime. It only casts mage spells anyway.
Oh, that's a good point. To be fair, that's a really good point. Oh my goodness. I was just thinking you were listing all the best draw spells in the game. I didn't even consider it Solarian Prime. Because it would still be the same.
They are the best draw spells in the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what misled me. Right, here comes a load of stuff. But part of the job of Sociologist is to act as a...
Oh, McGurgle. That's honestly, I think McGurgle's like the best one.
Yeah. especially coming the turn after this.
Yeah.
Because you're generating 2 difficult to deal with boards in a row. Not difficult to deal with, but they're high value. Like having to use a Soul Mirror is a card you don't want to ever cast. It's your money in the bank, and it's gone. And now the McGurgle challenges you to have another way out. And as it stands, Luna doesn't really have it. But there's plenty of cards she can generate that will help her, of course.
Okay, well, these actually aren't that powerful. Sometimes there's a lot more power that you can end up generating.
That's a poor McGurgle for sure. Actually going to allow Luna to have a turn where she doesn't necessarily have to panic. Whereas normally this would be immediate danger, whereas this is only 12? Yeah.
Yeah, who finds Condemn as well? This is a really annoying board. I mean, this is a great hand to pick up if you have Sethic in the deck.
I was thinking exactly the same thing, yeah.
She does not.
To be fair, like, it doesn't seem to be hindering her. She still has a full hand nearly all the time without that Sethic. So maybe the way she plays, she just doesn't want the extra clutter going on. She's generating all the clutter she needs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree, by the way. Just the way I play, I need all the extra help I can get. But if she's efficient enough, maybe she doesn't need the Sethic and can drop it.
There's Draxus.
Yeah. And the timing of the pickup after making those 2 wide boards, which meant that Luna didn't have much going on, was really, really helpful there for Rami.
Well, I mean, he still would have preferred it.
Yeah.
7 turns ago, or however long it was, when as soon as he hit 9 mana, since he's had the board the whole game. But yes, better late than never. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of turns later, and he might actually found himself the one sort of Jiraxising into taking 10 damage, but it turned out the other way around. And to be fair, Luna managed to at least have something on the board going into this turn.
Yep.
No, Tamsin, we don't want you.
Yeah, there are no shadow spells naturally. Actually, a shadow form, a shadow spell?
I'll go and have a look. I'm going to guess yes, but who knows?
What is a loon's will?
Give me a moment to have a look. Still not used to, I'm sure a lot of people are not. I'm not going to make too much of an apology for not being quite used yet to the different sorts of spell. Tend to assume that one class has all the same. Shadow Word Death is a shadow spell. Insight is a shadow spell. Shadow Form is a shadow spell.
Initiation?
Devouring Plague. Initiation is also a shadow spell.
Okay.
So there's a few actually. Shadow Word Ruin is another one, which could be useful.
All right.
But she will be need to get rid of those 6/6s. So there's more than we thought. Auspicious Spirits. Psyche Split.
Oh, Auspicious Spirit. Okay. All right. So the Tamsin Rome actually may not be that horrible. Okay, that's a Kargath Prime.
I wonder how well Luna knows her shadow spells.
Well, luckily you can just mouse over them and see the school that it's in.
I mean, like in a planning point of view.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Because yes, even I, TJ, in my infinite lack of wisdom, know how to hover over cards. All right, looks like Rami's gone for a 10. Which is interesting because you can't 10 and make a 6/6 in the same go.
Does that give your minions +4/+4? What?
Think it was, yeah.
So he's must have played out scenarios like this where, in order to like break a stalemate, right, threaten lethal, just by having a couple minions on board. I think this is smart.
There's probably a surprise factor as well, because the priest, there's no direct damage in the deck, which again goes back to that Hellfire you mentioned earlier as well. The priest can just miscalculate. Priest will tend to sit there and go, okay, there's a weapon, there's this on the board, that's what I can take. So maybe he's just deciding to be a bit sneaky here.
Oh, man. Okay. So it wasn't as, like, crazy of a Tamsin Roam as I thought was possible. But good enough, right? Gets the double initiation, develops a board. It's not that much resources, right? Since you get to double up on the initiation. She also has merit for just emptying hand because as Ysera and Mindrender Lucia. Ooh,
I was waiting to see a Psyche split.
Theron Hellfire.
Wait, what? Okay, that's a combo that gets you a 12-12. And he's seen it, and he likes it. And he gets a 6-6 as well. And I don't think Luna's going to be impressed.
I think another reason to pick 10 is to not give value to Mindrender or Lucia.
That's a really good spot, actually, yeah. In fact, there's only one card in Rami's hand that can be played if Luna plays a Lucia right now. That's smart,
yeah.
I like that. Good spot.
This is a pretty solid Ysera, I think. Like Theron, a tougher card to play now that Hellfire's gone.
So what we're looking at now is how Luna's resources hold up dealing with the 6-6 every turn. Because they will start to get whittled away, but with only 11 cards each left in the decks, Luna does have some sort of chance, but it does... What you'll likely see is turn after turn, Rami's board be a 6-6 at the end of his turn, and Luna get rid of it all at the end of her turn, but have fewer and fewer cards in her hand each time. It might take a while, but that's what's likely to happen.
Yep.
And this is why 6 is a really bad number for the priest. The Ysera Awakens is one of your primary removal spells this late in a game. And unfortunately, it only does 5.
Yeah, there's the Holy Nova.
Uh-huh. This is that problem I was talking about. If you're holding over an Ysera Awakens, and I'm not saying you definitely do that, you're getting rid of 2 of your cards, and all Rami's done is press a button twice and use one of those primes. And then Rami can just put that same sort of board straight back down there.
Okay, there's Ticketus.
Indeed.
Oh, it's got stealth.
Oh, okay,
that
that's a bit naughty.
That corrupts the Ticketus too, so that's a pretty big deal, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely playing in a manner that says, okay, go ahead and mind render me. Good luck. I'll take my chance, because now the Ticketus is also basically unstealable.
Yeah, I mean, you steal the 8/8, right? But it's still destroying cards from your deck.
Another Tamsin. Just because it would amuse me, I want to see a Psyche split on this Tamsin into something else.
Well, the Auspicious Spirits, right? That was one of the cards you mentioned as being...
Yep. Absolutely.
Shadow or Death also is a shadow spell.
Yep. There's like...
Oh, wave!
Split. Yeah. Yes. Luna's making this up as she goes, but she's doing a good job of it so far. I assume she is anyway. Meticulous though she is, I don't know if anyone prepares for this exact level of nonsense.
Oh no! Is he free?
Yeah, Rami's waving his hands about saying, I didn't know there were so many shadow spells in Priest. What's going on?
Okay, so taking a look at the rest of Luna's deck. The cards that she doesn't want burned are, I mean, none of them really, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Onyx
Onyx Mage Scribe's probably the biggest.
Yep.
Venomous Scorpion as well. Hysteria, Draconic Studies. Those are all just straight up value. Another Ysera. Okay.
She wants it. The Skeletal Dragon's a tempting choice here, by the way. It's definitely tougher than it looks.
Yep.
Just because she's starting to run out of cards that win. But we've got the advantage that we can see the Ticketus. If she knew the Ticketus was there, I think she might have taken the Skeletal Dragon and taken her chance with extra generation. But she's playing to my opponent's bottom card is Ticketus, and I can beat that somehow. Which makes sense when you can't see the hand.
Pass, but the dream is eternal.
Is there trouble?
Quite sure why Rami's so upset about everything. Like, you're allowed to have some things go wrong when you're the Warlock. Still 38. Luna shouldn't be able to do that.
Well, even with Ticketus, they're even in fatigue. They both have 3 cards left in their deck, so I don't think he's as far ahead. Okay, Zyrella, Venomous Scorpid. There's the Mage Scribe. Yep. And there's the Draconic Studies. Yep. Those are all the ones I said she didn't want burned. Last 3 cards are Flesh Giant, Blade Master Samuro, and Hysteria. So some removal, but this is pretty much all the value that she's got left. There's nothing else. So she really has to plan this well around what's left.
Is Elun's will.
No Yashar's main deck for the Warlock, presumably because was expecting quite a bit of Mage, so didn't want to give too much up to the Mage in the first game. There's a 10 drop doing nothing in your deck kind of doesn't help you.
I wonder.
So how does Luna generate something that sticks long enough to do 38? So that's 2 boards that do 15 damage in my mind. You know, very round numbers. I do realise that doesn't add up to exactly 38, but allowing for some chip along the way. Once again, she survives and has stuff, but once again uses 2 or 3 cards to get there. Rami will not want to use his Twisting Nether if he can possibly help it.
It's not that much like random stuff left, though, to be honest. He knows Mind Render. I mean, he knows all the cards that are available.
Yeah.
Right? There's no randomly generated card left. There's the cards that were generated by Ysera, and then there's the cards that are naturally in Luna's deck. And that's it. So this game is solvable from Rami's standpoint because there's no random outcome that could happen.
And Luna, it's also solvable for her, although she will probably solve that she's behind. But, okay, there's 4 cards left in Rami's deck. I assume some of those are fragments. Luna
actually,
can Mind Render, steal the Ogre maybe now, at least get something down.
Yeah.
The Laughing Sister's a liability in a way. Okay, it's a 3/5, but you can't Nightmare it, which is what... As a priest here, you're praying for 1 turn where you just stick a minion and you get to double Nightmare it and just do a load of damage in one go. And she can't find anything here. I think we see the Mind Render go either this turn or next turn. I think she just has to work out which turn she has the best chance of connecting with. Well, for me, that's the turn after your opponent Twisting Nethers.
What?
Because you forced that Twisting Nether. So he was temporarily not in control. She may have a plan for the Magtheridon or something that she knows is there.
I don't think there is a plan.
There's always a plan. It's not necessarily a winning one, but there's always a plan. she's got something in mind as to how, one trick can maybe catch Rami out or something. I mean, she knows that she's losing this almost certainly.
It's possible that, she thinks that her chance to win is like stealing a prime, like a comma or something, and then being able to stick that to win. Last prime is Zigzor, unstealable from Mindrender Lucia. Rami's going to think this through as well, trying to see how he can get punished. But again, he should know every resource that's left. The last card from Luna is a Flesh Giant, I believe. And everything else has been generated by Ysera's that he's seen be played, or they came from the actual deck. So
yeah. I feel like this Magtheridon is more a defensive one, just to stop Luna having it than anything. That's another accident that can't happen. I think we'll see him keep the Prime in hand, so that anything that Luna plays, like the Giant, can just be removed, because Rami doesn't need the value, even if they're leveling fatigue roughly, because he can make those 6/6s. All he needs to do is have enough removal to get rid of everything Luna has, and then his 6/6s will force the concede. Oh, she's found a way to get it on her side. Which is cool, yeah, and he knows. This is really nice play. You can't quite get the Blade Master down the same turn, but just but a trifle.
Is there trouble?
Okay.
My blade seeks vengeance.
yeah, I just don't see a way out here.
No.
There's no nethers left. Luna's just hoping that she can stick a little bit of damage. Also just empties the cards in the hand so that she can go for Mindrender next turn as a last-ditch effort. But Zigzor Prime is essentially as good as a Twisting Nether in this situation, clearing off much of the board and not giving any targets over.
I mean, there's no world now where I like to try and find a way out, but it's not as if Rami's on 1 health and all Luna has to do is stick a minion for a turn. He's on 34. So even if Luna sticks a 12/12, a couple of 6/6s will deal with it before it actually does game-winning damage.
Yeah.
And there isn't even a 12/12 yet, so,
I mean, this could leave the Laughing Sister on the board. Okay, 50-50. Nope, didn't. Gonna look for something.
Nice hand, GG.
Yeah. That's it, game 1.
Warlock, TJ. That's where it's all at. Warlock, the best class in the Americas region.
I mean, right now, when you're facing Priest, absolutely, right? You can see just how hard it is. Like, Luna fought well, like, got a lot of value out of each and every card, but when there's that many like value resources that are burned from Ticketus, right? It was Venomous Scorpid, it was Onyx Mage Scribe, it was Draconic Studies. Though you can't afford to have those types of cards burned by Ticketus, no matter when it is in the game, right? Because they were effectively even in fatigue outside of Rustwix. There was like 1 card difference. So if one of those value generators was left in the deck for Luna, then that could have been a different story, because you saw just how close she would have ended up being towards the end. Yep. But alas, that's what Warlock does.
It is one of those matchups as well where you kind of have to play it out for a very long time, because maybe Ticketus is the bottom card, maybe Jiraxis is the bottom card, those sort of things. And with Jiraxis that low in the deck, the accumulated value wasn't that much for Rami. It was about halfway through the deck, I believe, like card 16, I think. So Luna did have a chance, but exactly as we said, really, it just her hand slowly diminished as the game went by, or the value in it at least diminished. The 6 drops turned into 2 drops into 0 drops by the end, and Warlock did what Warlock does. And somewhere in the world, language hacker is looking in the mirror asking why it's not him. Why did he forsake the Warlock the 1 week it did anything?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had a Warlock versus Priest matchup and got mind rendered on 8 the turn before he could corrupt the Ticketus.
Of course he did.
And got it stolen, and then it was played and burned Jiraxis. So I'll never forget that moment, because that is like literally the only timing you could possibly use to get any type of Ticketus or mind render value from Ticketus.
That was the moment he snapped, was it? That was the moment he just went, Warlock, I love you, but it's over. I'm done. It's not you, it's me. I can't handle this anymore. I'm going to play a real deck.
Yep, that was the beginning of the end, I suppose. But yeah, now we're going to move to the secondary / tertiaries. Rami's just going to put in some more greed. Cascading Disaster, Shadowhunter, Vol'jin, Strongman, Yasharaj for the double Ticketus. Luna's going to put in South Sea Scoundrels, Cabal Acolytes, and Cthulhu the Shattered. So, you know, we have ourselves still a decent ways to go, right? I'm just curious to see if there's going to be Cthulhu pieces burned, or if that's going to be still intact as a win condition.
I wonder if these Cthulhu builds of Priest should play, I don't know, Thrive in the Shadows and stuff. Given that this is the format that it is, maybe you could tech your tertiary deck that you don't use much for Warlock and just hunt those pieces out so they don't get burned.
No, it doesn't work.
Have I gone full Raven here?
Yeah, it doesn't work. Because Fatigue is still the primary game plan, right?
Yep, that's fair.
You can win without Cthulhu. There's a lot of different paths to victory.
Oh! That's good, though. I recognise this card, Lord Jiraxis. He seems like a good card to have in your deck right now.
Yep. The earlier you get it out, the more 6/6s the priest has to deal with.
Interesting to see what he does with the Talon Fordring, actually. I assume it gets thrown, but it's a very handy card. You probably just keep the Jiraxis. Or do you keep none of them? I keep the Jiraxis, but...
Keep Jiraxis for sure. It's the only card that matters.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, like we said at the start, it just gets all the headlines, but that's not the problem. That's just the irritant.
Yeah.
Okay, Draconic Studies. Go, go, go. Find some cheap dragons. Make cheap dragons.
Job done.
Yep, make the one that doesn't cost that much and also sticks around through Twisting Nethers and through Siphon Souls. Definitely a good dragon to have early on.
Absolutely.
The times I win this matchup are when I get double or even triple Draconic early. There's other ways, of course, but that's the ones where you actually just... You feel like it's a game you just played rather than just a massacre.
Soulmare, that's a good pickup as well. Rami, got to be careful here.
Yeah.
Gonna dump School Spirits almost certainly to stay at 8 cards. Yep. You can tell he's very practiced on the matchup. No South Sea Scoundrel is absolutely a threat.
Also, not needing to tap because he's got Jiraxis, so might as well preserve the cards in his deck to some degree. We saw how close it was earlier when he was tapping like crazy to try and hit the Jiraxis.
Mm-hmm.
No need to do that so much. So yeah, throwing cards away, stay on 8. Nice.
What is
Curious to see when he will use the coin, because I think it might be next turn, or he might try and
Gonna be
coin
next turn for
Jiraxis.
sure.
I'd get rid of it.
Yeah. He can Jiraxis into Talon, and the Talon is actually going to draw Ticketus because he's already drawn... actually, no. Sorry, it'll draw Strongman's. My bad. It'll draw Strongman first. But yeah, still good. Just one step closer to Ticketus, which means one step closer to Yasharaj getting Ticketus as well.
This feels so horrible for Luna here. Obviously, this secondary deck not built for this matchup. That's why this is such an awkward card. But it is a 5/5. That's the main problem, the main thing that we often don't talk about with this card. It's a 4-mana 5/5. The ability is a downside, not an upside, in theory.
In theory.
Because your opponent gets a card that's in your opponent's deck, which means their hand will be more synergetic. And you're getting a card that's in your opponent's deck, which means it has no synergy with you. Which is why a lot of people play this in the mirror, but you don't necessarily want to play it in anything else. I don't think Rami's particularly scared here. I think he just go about his business. He didn't use the coin last turn, by the way. Which was surprising.
Yes, it was. But looking like Coin Jiraxis is on the menu, I suppose, like you had previously mentioned. It does mean, though, that he really doesn't want to draw any cards up until then, because he's going to have the coin as an extra card in his hand. But also, it's not really a matchup that you need to draw that many cards, right? You life tap a couple times early, and then Jiraxis has so many.
She takes the Mind Render out. I'm stupid. I'm silly.
Yeah.
Because she's having to play her Priest Mirror deck, not her anti-Warlock deck. She takes the Mind Render out, so you don't have to panic so much about keeping the coin in your hand like you might normally have to.
Just Gift of Luminance on the Dragon Ball Skystalker.
Heal it and Zyrella just to make some space. I like your play better, of course, because more value, more recursive minions.
This is not what we stood for.
Best way to challenge Divine Shields is really annoying, piddly little minions like these. And you're right, he's just going to coin into Jiraxis on 8 because that's the quickest he can get it in absolute safety. Which one? Because all three had a case there.
Yeah. The stickiest.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Soul Mirror, sort of even in fatigue, because Luna will draw the most expensive minion in the deck, which is the Ysera.
Yeah, it also stops it getting blown up by an opposing Ticketus. So she wants that in her hand because that's one of her key cards.
Yep.
Okay. See what she's trying to do. And then in a minute she'll face Jiraxis and she'll have to do a whole lot of defending. Yep. For one turn or two.
Sociologist.
Yeah. And this is so annoying because this is the turn where Luna really wants to ignore what her opponent is doing and generate a board to try and stop him from playing Jiraxis. And you've got to deal with this mess.
Yeah. Interesting.
Apotheosis and Blade Master seems reasonable. Not because it's nicely set up or anything, but it leaves something on the board as well that your opponent might want to mess around with.
I wonder.
Yeah, there's also like Apotheosis and trade over the Sociologist and then Zyrella alternatively, right?
Yep. Yeah, actually, you're right. You never get a better Zyrella than this. But you might get a Nightmare onto your Blade Master later on to deal with some 6/6s when you're desperate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this makes more sense.
What knowledge do the stars
Yeah, I like it. Right, is that enough pressure to stop coin into Jiraxis? No. Apparently not.
Nothing is, to be honest.
Yeah, she's done everything she can. At least she gets a good turn out of it because of the pressure she's put on. And Strongman is really annoying because when you dream it, it's still a 0 cost 6/6.
Yep.
Like, oh, I can bounce that back and take away. No, the card is the card. Unlucky.
Once it's corrupted, it's essentially a different card. At least for the purposes of everything, right? Raised Dead. It's not a different collectible card, obviously, but everything within the game, once it's corrupted, it's basically, that's why Raised Dead brings back corrupted versions. That's everything that copies the corrupted version of it. So,
quite unique, right? I think we're all muscle memoried in on that being not the way it works, but obviously it changes physically. Like it's got different art, which is the big clue. It still didn't stop me bouncing it the first time I faced it, of course.
Yeah.
I wonder.
That's why wouldn't I do that?
It still gets rid of the attack for a turn.
I mean, suspect that's what Luna's considering right now. Is, well, I can get 9 through. Warlock has a ridiculous amount of healing, but there's a turn where she can get stuff through, and then maybe next turn she'll have to just find another plan. Because this is the turn, I think. If she's going to win this game, she's got to get this turn right. This is the turn where Jiraxis hasn't really taken a hold properly yet. She's still got the tempo on her side and has to plan ahead as to what to do if she gets Twisting Nethered. And I think she's given herself a good backup plan.
Yeah, Rami is starting to just kind of run out of gas a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Has a 6/6 every turn, but Luna is developing lots of big stuff as well as generating even more value. Rami's not even at a point yet where he wants to play Yashiraj because he wants to be able to burn cards with Ticketus twice.
Yeah, and last
also
game
needs to hold on to a card that can corrupt Ticketus in hand, so doesn't really want to part ways with the Nether.
Yeah, last game I was getting excited and say, well, Luna's going to start running out of cards about now, and it will get, slowly and slowly out of her reach. But this time, the same is true, but this time she's going to be able to jam big things along the way. And even though her hand will start getting depleted thanks to the constant value of the Jiraxis, she might be able to get 24 damage in between now and the time she runs out of cards. It looks a lot more hopeful. I still don't know if she's favoured, but it looks that there's a plan this time. Last time it was kind of dead in the water before the plan even started.
Yeah. Okay, there's one Cthulhu piece.
Yeah, she's attacking on several fronts here. She's forcing Rami to keep up with her board, and is getting the Cthulhu piece as well. That's the first, I think. But yeah, you know what I mean. She's trying to get the Cthulhu pieces by using the board as a distraction.
Yeah. Another 6/6. Another Mage Scribe.
This sounds familiar. I've seen this card somewhere before.
Yeah. What if it's going to be Dream? That's, going to be Dream. Again, just going for tempo. Rami quickly running out of removal, though has Tamsin Rome, has Siphon Soul.
Tamsin's so good.
Ooh, Psyche Split. Oh, that's good.
That sounded good. That's
good.
Big old minions there.
Yeah, big old minions that are high value / sticky. That's what you want.
Yeah, because the great thing with the Proto Drake, if Rami plays, say, Twisting Nether here, which I don't think he'll want to do, but Twisting Nether and Hero Power for sake of argument, Luna can just jam a Proto Drake and say, okay, well, I've got an 8/8, you've got a 6/6. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Rami's feeling it, but doesn't seem nervous. Seems confident, just very, very focused. And again, testament to how Rami is doing this year.
What is a loon's will?
This is an interesting turn. You could just Psyche Split and push the issue. Could play Proto Drake. Could Ysera. Could do just about anything, right?
Yeah. This is interesting to me because I would usually have jammed the Proto Drake to have something to do after Twisting Nether, but I think Luna's doing it the opposite way. She's going to wait for the Twisting Nether, play the Proto Drake, and then it's got to be dealt with twice after the Nether's used. So she's actually trying to use it as a long-term problem, I think. Whereas I would have played it by now for some stickiness. I think she's going for a much longer game plan than that. Which is why she is a Grandmaster and I am a ladder pleb.
I wonder.
It's complicated for Rami because he needs to get everything he can out of this Tamsin, and it's not obvious what everything he can means or is.
Yeah. Also, the biggest thing is he really doesn't want to use Twisting Nether because he's quickly running out of cards to corrupt the Ticketus. He doesn't want to have to corrupt the Ticketus with the Yasharaj because he wants to be able to play that afterwards, right, to get the double value from it. So he's just trying to find any way that he can move the board without using too many resources, but also without using the cards that can corrupt the Ticketus. And I do like sort of what he's landed on here to try and get value to the Tamsin Rome. But now it's just Hysteria left, and then it's Twisting Nether all the way down. He needs to get that Ticketus quickly, and I mean, he actually only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 actual cards left in the deck. 7.
Right.
He's got 7 soul fragments.
I'm not sure how the ordering works here. I don't think this works, but can Luna... I'm just going to double check. Luna can't soul mirror and then get one back with the Tamsin she creates, right? The ordering doesn't work like that.
No.
Because, yeah, okay.
I wonder.
Back in the days before the Hearthstone rule set was particularly established, you could do some very strange things with cards at times. I think that all got tidied up when they tidied up Pyromancer, which was a card you could do some very weird ordering tricks with at times. Back in the old patron days that we all harp on about relentlessly.
All right, make some 6/6s.
That's new. We're going to see a lot of 6/6s today, by the way, everybody. Some of them might be ignored and just watch fireballs going over their head, but we're going to see a lot of them. Another piece.
This is tough. She really wants to play around Hysteria at the same time, too. There's just so many... the risk of saying the obvious, there are so many 6/6s being played.
Hey, after all the 4/9s of the last 2 or 3 days, 6/6s, it's new. Let's deal with it. I can handle 6/6s. 4/9s, not so keen. It's a shame for Luna that I don't think she's got a way where she can steal the Ticketus and corrupt it herself in time. Because that would be amusing, because you have to give your opponent the Ticketus, which is bad, of course, if you do that.
I wonder.
She's quite happy letting the Ticketus live at the bottom of Rami's deck and collect her Cthulhu pieces, because that's pretty much her only win condition the way this is turning out, to no real surprise. Same as before, slowly getting whittled away.
It's not the only win condition. Fatigue is still there, right? You just have to think that she's going to be multiple cards behind. It's just can she get the value? Because she still has a ton of value left in the deck with like double Wandmaker, double Venomous Scorpid, Onyx Mage Scribe, Saucy Scoundrel. Oh!
Oh, and the fist pump there to me says that's what she was waiting for. That's why she's been holding it all this time. I've been wondering quite why that isn't on the board for a while, and that is the answer. That was the celebration of somebody who has waited for that moment, and it's paid off to me. It wasn't just a random celebration of having a bit of luck. And this is Rami, like this is what he had to get used to last season when we were talking about getting used to this standard of play. you've got people making plays like that against you that you don't get on ladder week after week. Yeah, he's annoyed at himself, but you have to think that one level higher. On ladder, you don't expect somebody to hold Proto Drake for that exact situation. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
At least not every game. It might happen occasionally. There are some good ladder players.
What is Elun's will?
There's none. I'm curious what the play here is. She's mousing over the 3/6 for a value trade.
Okay.
Just gonna renew. Okay.
Idle.
Idle is probably the best.
I've taken Shadow Form too many times. For some reason, it never gets there.
I don't know. Sometimes it gets there, but I think Idle in this situation is just way too good. And I think that Luna has kind of caught on to this dynamic, right? Of just sticking a small board is worthwhile because Rami has to remove stuff at some point. Still looking for Ticketus. As soon as he picks up Ticketus, that Twisting Nether is getting whipped out of his hand. And that's a Lucky Soul Hoarder.
Yeah, those 2 health gain even was irritating her. She's very close to lethal here.
Yep.
She draws Isira
All
anytime.
right.
You can always add 4. There's the ticket, man.
So right now, Luna has only picked up 2 Cthulhu pieces. Over the next turn and then the turn after, she will have 10 cards total burned from her deck. So it's very likely that with this many cards remaining that a Cthulhu piece will get burned. So she needs to find a win condition very shortly here.
Yeah.
It's possible that it doesn't get burned, but...
She hasn't drawn Eye yet, has she?
Nope, no Eye
I was
and
wondering
no
why she
body.
was so annoyed about the 2 health, but Eye is one of her outs for...
Ooh, that is amazing!
Some of those risks you have to take, and she took it, and that worked so well.
Yep, this is the easiest Nether. Make a 6/6, and then Ticketus next turn. Cthulhu piece here would be great for Luna.
So,
Nope.
Eye and 7 to the head, and then Apotheosis was lethal there. Not a very likely lethal, I admit, but it was the lethals are existing, and that's a great spot to be in when you're in an unfavored matchup. It's Luna's job now to make them exist a little bit more realistically. She has got to the point where lethals are a thing that can happen.
So let me see how this is going to work. South Sea Scoundrel.
Elun's will.
Discover a card in your opponent's deck. They draw theirs as well. So it doesn't count as drawn, it counts as discovered. So Soul Fragment would just put the spell in your hand, it wouldn't actually give you the...
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going through that as well, but the problem is because it costs 0, it doesn't make that much difference because you can just dump it the next turn anyway, but yes.
Well,
health.
yeah.
She's got to draw to lethal, kind of.
Yep, this is a guaranteed Cthulhu piece gone from the win condition. Rami will destroy 10 cards over the next 2 turns.
Sure, yeah. Out of the 11 remaining, so Luna only gets to see one of those cards.
He can't play Ticketus.
Yeah. Yeah, Luna's doing a really good job of stopping him
now
from
he can
being able
play
to do his
Ticketus.
thing.
All right, that should be game. I don't think there's any way for Luna to win here.
I mean, Rami is spoilering this with
Well, I mean, it was.
He thinks it's over.
It was guaranteed. Either he hits it this turn or he hits it next turn, right? I mean, he may not know that, but like,
Yeah.
Luna will draw one card here. Doesn't matter if it's a Cthulhu piece. Even if there was a Cthulhu piece not burned, it doesn't matter if this one's a Cthulhu piece because the rest of them are going to get burned next turn. Yeah. So that's it's checkmate, I think.
So she has to play the Scoundrel to try and find. I mean, she's lost, but take the Scoundrel, try and find something next turn.
Yeah.
Maybe she finds Yashaj from where she sat.
8 cards of the remaining 11 are soul fragments. There's 2 demonic studies and a cascading disaster.
But she doesn't know about the 2 void drinkers both being in hand as well. She knows about one of them, I think.
Yep.
So, yep. Looks like we're going to have a Warlock, which is actually a Hearthstone class, in the finals of the American Grandmasters.
Yep, honestly, not too like riveting of a series, right? It just feels like a lot of waiting around until you see what Ticketus burns.
Yep. It's a shame because Luna showed a lot of interesting pieces of skill there, like the keeping the Proto Drake for the Vol'jin, that sort of thing. But none of it mattered on this occasion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough, right? Like, it's a bad matchup, but that's good on Rami for bringing, obviously, a deck and a lineup that is supposed to be countering Priest, because it does, obviously. Even when the deck doesn't draw that great, it still just wins.
And that shows a level of confidence or comfort as well, because I wouldn't want to bring Warlock to a specialist event, even if I thought everybody might bring Priest, because it's like, if they don't, what if I get this wrong? I'm not in the tournament. I get 0 points. So he's obviously comfortable with his own ability and the fact that if it goes wrong, he can get enough points to make up for it another time. That he felt it was the overall best EV bring, as he gains 1 million health, just to be irritating. So yeah, it's easy to sit at home saying, oh yeah, well, Warlock beats Priest, I'd bring it too. But you're the one who's got to make that decision and live or die by that decision. It becomes a lot harder.
It is finished. You win.
But another good week from Luna. She's got at least 2 points every week. She got 3 points this week. She's got a total of 10. Is going extremely well. So I don't think she'll be too disappointed.
No, and I honestly think she played incredibly well. That's just an impossible matchup to win if in that secondary matchup, or in the primary matchup if you get value cards burned, and in the secondary matchup if you get Cthulhu pieces burned. It feels nearly impossible. I think that she pressured when she could. She got quite close at the end. Ticketus, if the Cascading Disasters wasn't picked up for Rami, he may not have been able to play Ticketus because there would have been lethal represented on board. So still even had a chance for lethal then. It's just, you know, if the timing doesn't work out, then you lose the game. Like, that's it. It's really a weird matchup currently to watch, because it feels like you're just waiting around for 1 or 2 events to happen in the later stages of the game, trying to play your best to get there, and then that's what determines the outcome. But yeah, Rami will move on to the finals. He'll face either Fled, who's also playing Warlock, but a much less kind of greedier variation of Warlock, a much more anti-mage Warlock, or Nalgidon's Mage. So a reasonable matchup, and then a pretty tough matchup, honestly, for how Rami's built his lineup upcoming for him.
Yeah, the Mage deck is interesting.